Friday, January 19, 2024. Welcome to your new backcountry snowpack summary brought to you by North Shore Rescue. I'm going to start with a very important public safety message. If you choose to go out in avalanche terrain today and something happens and you call for help, there's a decent chance that we're not coming. Hopefully you were able to take advantage of the nice snow that we got this week, because that certainly deteriorated quite rapidly overnight. So things unfortunately turned to rain, but it's not the typical North Shore rain that is falling on a very well settled coastal snowpack. It actually is falling on pretty dry and cold snow, so that has completely different implications. So if you want to know more about that, stick around for the snowpack discussion. This week we're at 1,200 meters, and we actually picked a flat spot to do the profile just because the conditions are pretty spicy and we didn't really want to get into any avalanche terrain. So this is what we find. So last week we could see this crust there. It's almost 2 weeks old. It's pretty crumbly. And last week there was a little bit of snow on top of it. Of course it got really cold, and that snow here is still quite dry, and you can still see the forms of the crystal, but there's definitely been some faceting happening. In some areas also a tree line on top of the snow right here, there's surface core crystals, and they got pretty big, you know, over maybe 20 millimeter, but they're pretty scattered. There's areas where it's very predominant and areas where you won't find it at all. And then this week stayed nice and cold, and then on Wednesday we had a pretty solid storm. About 30 centimeters fell, really nice low density snow. And then yesterday we added maybe another 15 centimeters to that. And then somewhere last night things started to turn to rain. Of course, the North Shore is used to see rain. What we're not used to see as much is that cold smoke that we have for the last couple of days. So when we have rain falling on a very dense, well-settled coastal snowpack, it generally is not that big a deal. However, this is certainly not the case, because you have this 3 centimeters or so, or 4 centimeters of saturated snow on top, but the rest is still very much like a nice winter snowpack. And so that can be a little bit misleading, because as you're skiing it might feel a little bit like sort of typical North Shore condition, but they're definitely not. So this morning we're actually easily triggering avalanches 35 centimeters down onto that soft snow that's sitting on top of the crust in terrain that we were just happily skiing yesterday. So in the last couple of days the snow was so cold that it didn't really actually form into a slab, so you could get dry loose avalanche. You could get some cracking a little bit, but if you triggered a slab there would be no propagation or very little propagation, and the slab would be so soft that it would have little destructive potential. Now all of this is really changing super rapidly with the warming. So on a day like today, what we're concerned about is wet loose that start from the surface. With the trees are shedding a lot of snow right now, so that's enough to start a little wet loose, and then the weight of that wet loose avalanche triggering something deeper, either just above the crust or right immediately underneath the crust. There's also a weakness there that is still producing compression tests. And if it's not triggered by a wet loose, it could simply be the weight of the additional rain on this. So don't treat it as the typical North Shore rain event. I would definitely give avalanche terrain a wide berth today and in the coming days as well. Let's see what this is going to do. This is a little bit unusual, so we have to increase our margin of safety a little bit. That's all I have for this week. Stay safe this weekend, and we'll see you next week.